Order our school district for Pewaukee board meeting for Monday, March 10th to order. And I'll start with roll call. Stacy?
Here.
Travis?
Here.
Mary?
Here.
Matt?
Here.
Ashley?
Here.
Larry?
Here.
And was the meeting properly noticed?
The meeting was properly noticed.
Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Oppose.
And we'll stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Well, tonight we're going to start out with our Spotlight on Learning, and we have Pewaukee Lake Elementary here tonight to present for us.
Hello, Brian.
Hi.
Good evening. How's everyone doing?
Good.
Good.
Good. Well, I know they're a bit shy, but I do have some people with me this evening. We're going to be focusing on our math data days, which were the first time that we did this this year. So previously, you guys have heard about our district writing assessment days, where 3 times throughout the year, each grade team met with our literacy coach, Carrie Rudolphi. They went through writing data. They're able to observe in other classrooms, plan for student growth in writing. We never really had time or had the capacity to do it for math, so we changed some of the structures for our district writing assessment days, and we cleared out one day so that we could do math data days for the first time. We also included 4K in it for the first time. So our purpose for doing days like this is to foster meaningful conversation between teachers in a grade level and our academic learning coaches, an opportunity to see other classrooms, learn vertically as well as from each other, and have a built-in consistent time with our coaches where they can learn together, they can ask questions, they can plan together, all focused around student achievement and how to help kids move forward. So we're going to hear from our coaches, Tara McNamara and Nicole Ebert, about the coaching side of it, what made a difference to them, the way they approached it. Then we've got 3 teachers here as well, Karen Madursky, Jen Simon, and Sarah Zarek. And they're going to talk about the teacher perspective of what their experience was like before we kind of share general feedback that we had from the day.
Well, thanks for having us. So we administer the Comprehensive Growth Assessment, also called the CGA, 3 times a year. On that assessment, it's looking for end of the grade level expectations, for end of the year expectations for both fluency and problem solving. So on there, we had our teachers come in and they open up their data wall and they took a look at their fall scores and their winter scores and had a chance to reflect on their student growth and proficiency. We also asked them to make a note of any students that were not yet proficient and told them that as the day went on, after we did observations, they'd have time to put together a targeted plan for that to address those students' needs. We also talked about any common themes we were seeing among the grade level, and then also took time to celebrate the significant growth we'd already seen from the fall to the winter. From there, we went and observed in classrooms. So we decided this time that we were going to go to the grade level ahead of us. So for example, 2nd grade was able to walk over to Horizon and see the 3rd grade classrooms. We allotted it about 30 minutes for this, so they were able to go into about 2 to 3 classrooms and take a look. We gave them some look-fors or guidelines to look at as they were walking through the rooms, maybe looking at the teacher practice, student engagement, or even just the structure of how the teacher maybe formed groups or the setup of the day. So after that, we came back and then we had an opportunity to debrief. If the classroom teachers that we observed were available, they came back and our teachers were able to ask them questions about their practice or strategies they used. So we were able to take away a lot of good learning and things that they were able to apply into their work time later on. And Tara's going to talk a little bit more about that planning time that happened after the observation. Thank you.
So now that the teachers had the opportunity to really dig into their classroom data and observe other classrooms in action, they were given time to choose a small group of students that they wanted to intentionally plan for. In order to support our teachers with that, Nicole and I created a resource guide that was personalized per grade level. We really wanted to be efficient with our time, and so we took the resources and trainings that we've provided for our teachers and combined them into a comprehensive guide for them to use, not only for the small group they selected for that day, but potentially a resource for us to continue using moving forward. Specific things that we included on that resource guide was Advantage Math Recovery, or AVMR. Our teachers have been trained in AVMR, and so it was bringing back some of those trainings and that knowledge that really focuses on the foundation of number sense and fluency. Another resource that we included in that guide was certainly our elementary math curriculum, Bridges. But we were really careful about the activities that we chose so that they could be differentiated to meet the varying needs of teachers, learners. And then finally, a supplemental resource that Bridges provides for us is called Bridges Intervention. And so we highlighted pieces of that intervention program for our teachers, and that's really for targeted instruction to support our learners. So we received very positive feedback from this resource that we provided for them, not only because it has links that they can access, but also because Nicole and I were able to model a lot of these activities. You'll hear from the teachers now a little bit about their experience from the day, and as they're talking, we'll show a few pictures that provide a glimpse of what that day looked like.
These were just some of the photos of teachers getting together. Everyone go through. Yep, these were some of, I think Shelley Reilly was in a second grade classroom, so this is showing how teachers were able to go and do that vertical leap up into the grade ahead of us. Just seeing kids doing what kids do, so it was nice. As a 4K teacher, just being involved in that this year, 4K doesn't do DWA, so it was great for us to have this opportunity. So just some resources that we were doing. So the biggest takeaway we took from this day, in 4K, we talk to each other all the time, but it's usually we're talking about literacy, we're talking about math, we're talking about behaviors, we're talking about all different kinds of things. So this was a day to truly focus on math. So the great thing about the day was going ahead and seeing how kindergarten taught for us. We do number corner every day, and I see their math thinking. And so it was wonderful to go into 5K, and it's like, wow, like this is what they were thinking last year, and they are really expounding on what they're learning the next year. So that was, I don't know, it was great to see how number corner advanced from year to year. We got to speak with just the coaches. We do that a lot when we have our team meetings with them. But it gave us an opportunity to really think about what our data was showing, and they gave us kind of specific resources that we could use for those kids that just needed a little extra. So that was really, I don't know, it was helpful. Even for our peers, just the teachers on my team, that we weren't thinking about anything else but math and their student needs. So I hope we do this again next year. 4K loved being a part of it. We kind of went in not knowing what to expect from it and came out like feeling really good about it. So we're kind of thankful that Brian and coaches and everybody put that together. So.
And I'll piggyback a little bit off of what Karen said about the opportunities to see the vertical alignment going from second into third grade classrooms, I got to observe some of my former students interacting with the curriculum with different teachers. I could see how structures that were really similar in my classroom were tweaked in one way or another that could have given opportunities or lent themselves to different learning styles in ways that I didn't imagine through my second grade lens. So that was really great to see the vertical alignment. But for me, this day was most powerful because it gave that opportunity to look through data. We're very data driven in terms of our instruction, and I have I struggle with analysis paralysis. Sometimes there's so much information that we gather on students that it's difficult to make that like just right in the moment decision about what a kiddo needs next. And so this day gave me the opportunity to work with my coworkers and coaches to really determine what was my priority for that next right step for kiddos, and what other resources could I use beyond what our traditional curriculum sort of provides.
The biggest piece for me was just kind of with our mission with opening the door to all kids' futures. Here's a picture of ways I went back to 4K and created and took a bunch of the 4K game boards, and then being able to use a variety of cards to help all learners in my classroom. And then on the opposite end, we had a simple game like Treasure Hunt, where we just dug a little deeper into the AVMR and found like counting by twos, counting by fives, counting by tens. So I had 5 different levels per se, just based off of the cards. Could use the same game boards. So everything looks the same, but there's so much differentiation in just the cards that you use, or the ways that you play with the cards. So that was the biggest piece for me.
So they did a survey afterwards, and these are just a few of the comments that we have up here. You can see the teachers really appreciated the time to spend with each other, the time with the coaches, being able to see other classrooms, getting time to plan for those small groups. You know, we have such a limited time in a day to be able to have teachers spend considerable time together, trying to meet the needs of the kids in their classroom, to move them forward. So much to what Karen alluded to, we plan on doing this again next year. We thought it was a really great use of time. And just a little preview of our next spotlight. We're always looking for which area of the building we aren't spending enough time with for them to collaborate together. So when we're back for our last spotlight, we're going to highlight a time that special ed teachers got a chance to plan on the literacy side of things together. We made a couple days for them to be subbed out to do some work together. So really trying to find out different ways of making sure that we are getting the right people in the right room at the right time so they can plan forward. So any questions?
I have a general one. So who was able to participate in this?
So we had everybody, 4K through second grade, was able to participate. Even the special education teachers were able to participate in this one. Yeah, we subbed them out. So we did, because grade levels are anywhere from 8 to 10, we split a grade level up in half. So we had like 5 people subbed out in the morning, 5 people subbed out in the afternoon. To do a full grade level for a full day would be quite a nightmare. So we split them up in half so we can go half and half.
At first I thought it was a PD day, and then I'm like, oh no, the kids are next.
Right, and you know, that speaks to the importance of doing days like this where you can see kids in action. You can talk to kids about it. And when we do our DWA days, we try to mix up the groups so the same people aren't planning together on those half days they're subbed out. We can mix and match throughout. So we try to be aware of who's been in a group before and how do we change that up.
I love how going to a grade above helped validate your work and what you do in your grade level. I think that's awesome.
And with our writing ones, they do one day where they go the grade above, and then they do another one where they go to the grade below, so they can see what sort of skills are developing there that they can then carry on with. And we got to look at next year, are we going to do the grade below, grade above, mix and match, how we want to do it here.
a class that had a lot of my former students, and I was like, wow, you have really grown in it. It's like, ooh, you know, we're not playing with our shoes anymore. Like, we're in it. Like, we are thinking about, like, math thinking. So it was really fun to see that.
That's the foundation you laid.
Yeah.
So, Brian, can you go back up to the previous slide for 1 second? So you have the comment in there where it says, always love to see new and innovative ways to teach skills for all levels of our students, so any other reasons or things to try are helpful. Do any of you have anything that you can share with us that would relate to that? In other words, what are some of those innovative ways to teach skills? And then if you could tie that into anything you might have seen in terms of one of your original objectives was to focus on student achievement and how to meet the needs of all learners. Any connections to?
Yeah, I can go back to this picture when Jen was talking about how she took something from 4K to bring it up to her classroom. I don't know if you have anything else to add.
Yeah,
That-
I had some.
For the mic.
Oh, sorry. I had some new students that were new to PLE, so they weren't able to see and have the experience with the 4K bridges. So really pulling these, because it is such a scaffolding curriculum, to be able to pull those games and give them that base before teaching like the kindergarten curriculum was really helpful. And then keeping the game boards and just switching out the cards that you use, like the 10 frames or the 5 frames, adding maybe 2 together instead of just 1, or once they level up. So I think it's just digging into the resources and finding creative ways so that you are touching all learners. So same resources, but then just kind of digging a little bit deeper, either going to the 4K or going to first grade to differentiate.
So along those lines, somebody's going to also jump in.
I can piggyback off that a little bit. Remembering that sometimes we have new staff coming in. So when we talk about new and innovative, it doesn't always mean that it's brand new. It might be new to them. And so I think these days provide a really helpful time for us to review what we already know. Sometimes that feels new, so I referenced the AVMR training. You know, sometimes our teachers haven't been trained in a few years in that, but bringing those resources back out and talking about how they can meet student needs, it's a reminder of, oh yeah, that's right, we have the treasure hunt. That's right, we can differentiate that many different ways. What Jen was talking about with the workplaces, if I'm a kindergarten teacher, I really know kindergarten Bridges well. Bridges has a wonderful progression of how students learn mathematics. So you can look at 4K resources, and that might be a helpful way to meet needs in 5K or first grade. Similarly, when we're looking to extend students, we can also, if I'm a kindergartner or a kindergarten teacher, I can look at first grade workplaces and see if those are going to be a good fit. Our resource does a fantastic job. It provides assessment and differentiation charts for us for every workplace. So we have look-fors when we're sitting with students that give us these ways to either level up the activity or provide some more support. So I think that new and innovative, while I don't know specifically who said that, I do think we heard, multiple comments of the reminder of what we have been trained in, the resources that we have at our fingertips, and we don't need to keep looking for more. Let's really dig into what we have. Does that answer you?
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Okay.
But also, your role as a coach, means you're going in and working with the teachers on an ongoing basis as well?
And
right?
students. Mm-hmm. So it's students and teacher, we work alongside one another.
So is there anything that's been hard or challenging for you as teachers to do what you're doing or to adopt these new and innovative ways to teach skills for all levels of students? And I'm emphasizing the all levels of students, by the way.
I can speak to that a bit. My class this year has a different makeup than my classes previous years did. And so for me, what the structures for how I would interact with kids in small groups and what kids would be working on independently when they weren't with me, that feels very different this year than previous years. So I think when you're talking about what's difficult for teachers, these days actually help alleviate some of that difficulty because I was able to go in and see the different structures that teachers use, still delivering the curriculum, but what does that look like with all different learners? And it gave some reassurance into the changes that I'd made to my own practices for this year, but then also the reminder that every year will look a little bit different. Does that answer your question at all?
Yes. How many years have you been here as a teacher, and when did you graduate from Pewaukee?
I decline to answer the second question. This is my 15th year here.
Wow. I was going to say the collaboration is so important because each one comes with their own specific gifts and background knowledge. And I think that when you bring that all together to all the educators, it's a gift not only to the teachers, but more importantly to our students. So I think it's great.
Now, Sarah, I could have asked you to compare and contrast your learning back in the day when you were here to what you're doing now as a teacher, right? But
I don't remember.
But you are a successful graduate of UW-Madison, though, right? So.
Her high school social studies experience
What's
was,
that?
her high school social studies experience was really weak.
Inspiration for her to become a teacher, right?
Yes, well, yeah, sure, I'll take credit for that. I would just like to compliment you all. This is exemplary professionalism. Teaching is so complex. I love what Sarah said. Kids change every year. You get, the same set of tools that worked last year won't necessarily work for you, the group that you have this year. And what Tara described, the value of going up and below and being able to meet that range of learners that you have in front of you, and just the professional learning, your commitment to improving your craft, because it is really complex work. I don't think people realize how complex teaching is. And to kind of always be learning and improving is just so important. So I really commend all of you for your commitment to your own professional growth, and our kids are the beneficiaries, so thank you.
Yeah, and I want to add that, sometimes there's the question, well, like, what can we do to improve? We have been meeting with a group of administrators and coaches to review our curriculum renewal process, and one of the opportunities for improvement is really making sure that we vertically align from grade level to grade level, and this is an outstanding example of how you can help getting teachers into classrooms to make sure there is that alignment from second grade to third grade to fourth grade. So great work.
I have a question. What does sub out mean?
We get substitute teachers to take the place of the classroom teachers so that they can be at the professional development.
Are they outside of the school pool?
The substitute teachers,
Yes.
they're brought in through Teachers on Call, who's the organization that we contract with.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
right.
everyone.
Appreciate your
Thank
time.
you. All right, next we have Natalie and Anna with your report.
Okay, so it's already March. It's crazy. When me and Anna started to do this, I was like, no way, this school year's flying by. So we're just going to highlight some things in February that happened and early March as well. The first thing we wanted to highlight was a Hope Squad event that occurred on Valentine's Day this year. It was our first annual Let's Talk About Mental Health event. It was held at the boys varsity game. On Valentine's Day, we had a booth with a bunch of resources from mental health associations in the area, so NAMI and WellPoint. We did t-shirt sales. We did activities and trivia for kids, which was really well received. We had a lot of kids come running up to shoot some hoops. We had a basketball hoop. But they were also learning about all the great things that our school is doing to support them with their mental health. We had a student voices resource for parents and adults in our community, which is that poster. It's kind of hard to see in the middle picture. But it was basically, we sent out a survey to all of our Hope Squad members. We all got to fill out things we wish adults or parents in the community knew about mental health. It was really well received. We had not just Pewaukee families come up to us and talk to us about it, but we also had parents from the visiting schools. They were extremely impressed with all the great ways Pewaukee High School is supporting their students. I talked to one mom for quite a while, and she was like, "Are you sure you guys are in a private school? You have so many awesome resources." I was like, "No, we just have an awesome district that supports us with all these resources." So just very impressed, and I've mentioned Hope Squad before, but we've had a lot of great growth this year, and this is one of the, because we have such a big team, we're able to do events like this now where we can get support from our community, and just, it was a really great night, and we had a lot of great support from the community, which is great. The second event we've touched on, I just wanted to highlight the PLA prom, which was also a first annual thing. It was created by 3 PLA staff members, so a huge shout out to Sarah Torbenson, Katie Krupinski, and Lisa Seeger. It was a night of fun for students and their families, also coincidentally on Valentine's Day. There was flower sales, music, dancing, and the event raised over $4,000 for the Be Here, Be You, Belong PLE scholarship, which goes to one senior for their future education, which is amazing. So not only a great night of fun, but also supporting community members and students as well.
So the third topic we kind of wanted to highlight was what the ACLU club is doing. So they're hosting a self-defense lesson on April 12th from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. And it's supposed to teach strategies in self-defense legally and physically and appropriate times to use self-defense. And this initiative is led by seniors Zara D, Gianna S, and PHS ACLU.
So yeah, if you're interested in this event, it's like Anna said, it's led by our ACLU here at Pewaukee High School. Still taking registration, so if you or anyone you know is interested, it's for ages 14 and up. For anyone interested.
And then the fourth topic that we wanted to highlight was Mission to Remission Designs. So this was a initiative started by Madeline Rumor and Amanda Zayline, who are juniors at Pewaukee High School, and they began creating this entire business around the treasure trove for global business back in December, but they make sweatshirts in honor of LLS, which is Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, and all the proceeds go to LLS. But they also have been working with their team to create events that will help raise money. So the most recent ones was Bubba's Give Back Night. They had a music show over the weekend at Venture Wellness, and there was also a Kendra Scott event.
And lots of athletics and activities highlights, so I'll try to go through as quickly as I can. So I just wanted to highlight the amazing Mamma Mia performance that the Pewaukee High School put on. It was really amazing. I went and saw it. It was February 20th through the 23rd. We also had 25 FBLA members that are headed to state this month. Pewaukee High School will actually host next year's Regional Leadership Conference for FBLA, and then Anu Pathi was elected to Region 7 Vice President position. She worked really hard for this position, and super cool that she's representing our area and Pewaukee High School. Also, we wanted to highlight Caleb Cady, who made school history this past month with 4 sectional wins back to back to back, and he is a D1 state champion, so amazing work by him and really impressed. We also wanted to highlight our girls and boys basketball, who unfortunately both their seasons came to an end this weekend, but they also had amazing seasons, really just commemorating all the hard work they put in to show off our basketball. And then we also wanted to highlight our ping pong club, who claimed 2nd place at the state championship, our cheer team, who placed 4th in stunt and 3rd in cheer dance at the state competition. This past weekend, Acadec went to state and placed 3rd. Congrats to Ben Varner, who was our Pewaukee's top scorer. And then Riley Cullen and Ava Eklund qualified for state in bowling while placing 1st in their division and in conference. So a lot of great things that are happening with both athletics and activities. So just commemorating all that hard work.
And then a couple of things that we wanted to recognize. We wanted to say congratulations to all the staff, FOFA, students, volunteers that helped make Mamma Mia happen. It was a great production. I went twice, and it was great both times. And then I wanted to also recognize Logan N., Texas M., Elizabeth D., and Max S. for being National Merit Scholarship finalists. And then also Kate Booth, who is a junior, and she created an initiative for the Hope Center through Key Club, and the Hope Center is a local homeless shelter supporting Waukesha County, and she created a bake sale to raise money. And then also we wanted to thank all the staff who helped out with the resource time, the flex schedule, ACT prep sessions, which was very helpful for the juniors. It's not easy to come in early in the morning, and it's definitely not easy to deal with teenagers that early, but just a huge thank you to everybody who made it happen.
And then we'll take any questions or comments if anyone has any.
Could you elaborate on ACLU, if I got that right?
Yeah, so that's a national program. It was a chapter was started 2 years ago, last year by Zardunia and Gianna Schlender. It's the, correct me if I'm wrong, Alliance, now I'm gonna have to.
It's an acronym.
Yeah, it's an acronym. Basically, it's focused on student rights and focusing on it's a nonpartisan group. We're focused just on letting students know their rights in their school and all the great ways that students can get involved in their community when it comes to knowing their rights and things like that. Earlier this year, I went to a conference in Milwaukee with ACLU, which was a bunch of different ACLUs in our area coming together to learn from professionals about knowing their rights when it comes to talking with police officers, different things like that. It is a nonpartisan group, and a chapter was started by a couple students. I will look up that acronym right now.
It stands for the American Civil Liberties Union.
Yes, thank you. So, yep, national thing.
How many members do you have here?
That, I'm gonna have to ballpark. I would say probably 30 students are involved from all grade levels. Yeah. It's grown over the past couple of years. When I first started as a sophomore, there was probably like 10 people, but we've had good growth over the last couple of years.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Well, thank you, gals. That was a wonderful report. Next, we have salutes and recognitions, and I'm going to start it off. I, too, went to Mamma Mia. I want to thank Mr. Sevens, the students, the staff, FOFA. So I love ABBA music, so you're speaking my language. But it was really a great production. And really, it was quite an advanced, it was a lengthy production. There was a lot to it for those students. And just when you thought they were done, they came out with this great rendition of Waterloo, and I was just almost high, so that was great. So I just can't say enough. I think that our staff and students alike did a wonderful job on that. As you girls said, I really want to recognize our boys and girls basketball teams. Their season did come to an end this weekend, but really, you know what, it's not about winning or losing. It's about how you play the game. And when I look at our students, I am so proud of how they conduct themselves at every game they play. And I think that's really the important part, right? It's the attitude and what we project for our district when we're out there playing those games. So kudos. Anybody else have any salutes?
So tonight at our business affairs meeting, we got our annual nursing report for the nursing services. And the way that we run our program, I think, is so well done. And for us to have a nurse in every building, we talked about that is just not really heard of anymore in school districts. And the number of visits is like 7,500. Is that annual? Yeah. An annual basis. So I just wanted to give a salute to our nursing staff and Colin for the work that they do on a daily basis to keep our kids safe.
I want to second that, Stacy. You know, it used to be, back in the day, school nurses took temperatures and handed out aspirin. Our school nurses now do catheterizations, tube feedings. Advanced nursing skills are required of them, and I can't say thank you enough to our entire staff for what they do every day.
They shared a story that we have a student who's been hospitalized for a lengthy amount of time, and the mom called and wanted to talk to, she said, first of all, she said, is there a nurse in the building? And I said, yeah, all the time, and she couldn't believe that child is tube fed. It's called tube fed, right? To
Yeah.
the nose.
Mhm.
And she said, yeah, we can take care of that. And the mom was so grateful because she said, now that means I can go back to work and my child can join his school community again. That's really a cool story. She was shocked though.
It's awesome.
Caleb Cady. Did we salute Caleb Cady for winning being the only representative from Pewaukee, right, at the state wrestling
Yeah,
championship?
only one that
and
made it this year.
Coming home with a victory, so.
Yeah.
Thank you, yeah.
Because of or despite coaching?
Well, I mean, the other coaches are good. I don't know what I'm bringing to the table, but it was a very tough sectional that we were in this year, very competitive. We had a couple, Texas Mackey was close. He wrestled, where that kid started from and where he came to is mind-boggling, actually, how much he improved in 4 years. And had a couple guys that had a shot, but it was just a tough sectional. Yeah.
Pewaukee versus everyone?
I just wanted to give one to our PLE music teachers, Miss Purdy and Miss Byer. So we're in the middle of concert season, and this year I went to 2. I went to 5K in second grade, and I think there's another one yet this week. There's a 4K concert, but it amazes me every year that you can get 100 5Kers or 4Kers to stand there in unison and not run away.
Yeah.
They stand
That's
there
impressive.
in unison, play instruments. It's super impressive. So shout out to them.
Awesome. Anyone else? Administration?
Does it have anything today? I don't think we did it previously, but Lisa Seeger, Sarah Torbenson, Katie Krapinski, who came up with the PLE prom. I think that was very well received by those parents to have that opportunity with their kids. And I think we had some weather that night that they had to adjust for. We had a snowstorm coming in, so they kind of shortened it a little bit, but were able to make it happen, and it was kind of a neat event. It's just great to see our passionate teachers who have enough work to do already, but then they choose to add tasks to their plate just because they want experiences for kids to be special. So I'd like to recognize those 3 teachers.
How did they raise the funds?
Yeah, they were doing flower sales and.
Yeah.
Not sure.
Was there concessions or?
I think, did they get something from PTO maybe?
Oh,
They might have got some money from PTO.
I was just curious.
I should
My
know,
middle-aged
but-
brain's failing me because I knew where they got some of the money at one point, but yeah.
I was just curious.
Yeah.
What is, I think you said PLE prom?
Yes.
PROM?
Yes. So for our elementary kids, the teachers came up with doing a prom at Pewaukee Lake Elementary for the little kids, and what they did, which was really kind of neat, is it was really a parents taking their kids to prom thing, and it was they got dressed up, and they did the thing these days is promposals. Where like the kids in high school will do these kind of elaborate promposals when they ask each other, and so they encourage parents to do those with their own kids just to make it special. So it was that kind of a thing. And then they had, I think it was a student from Horizon helped DJ the event for them as well.
So if you could just elaborate a little bit more, what happens when they get there? What is the mix?
Yeah, that's a dance. It's kind of if you've ever seen like a daddy-daughter dance or a mother-son dance. It was kind of like that with our earliest elementary students. There was some food and refreshments. There was a picture station where they could take pictures with their kids. It was just a fun celebratory event with their kids.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Tammy, do we have any comments from citizens?
No comments from citizens.
Okay. Next consent agenda, we're accepting the minutes from previous meetings, the February 10th Business Affairs, the February 10th regular board meeting, and the February 17th learning session. correspondence, which is included in your packet, and we, once again, got some wonderful gifts. $2,750 was received from the Gene Haas Foundation, $1,000 from Power Test, and $1,500 from Caliber Collision. All were donated to the high school robotics club. So thank you once again for our community just being so gracious to give funds to our school programs. So if I can get a motion to accept the consent agenda?
Move to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Oppose.
Next, business affairs. Stacy.
All right, so we had our meeting, as I mentioned before, we had the nurses come in and give the services review, which was very informative and impressive. We talked about our check register, had a few questions there, and then went over the financial report. We're still sitting at like 46% for revenues collected, expenses about 53%. Everything is tracking close to budget. We did find out that our special ed reimbursement from the state is going to be like 29.2% versus the 33% as we had hoped and heard. So that's going to create about an $80,000 shortfall. And then the other one that's running a little higher is our substitute teacher expenses. There's been 25 children born in our district by our staff. So the substitute teaching expenses is running high. But when in May, we'll be able to move money from the budgeted salary dollars into that fund. So it's not something that we can't afford, but it's just in the wrong bucket right now for budget purposes.
So our staff's helping keep schools in business. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just tell you, I think you should test the water. So, anything you want to add, John?
Yeah, the only other item that we discussed was on the construction progress up to date. We were at about just short of $1.8 million spent to date from the start of the construction project. We're slightly behind what we had projected over a year ago as being the pace of expenditures on the project. That ultimately results in having higher interest earnings than what we had projected also for the project as we stand at the end of February.
Stacy, could you repeat, what are the percentages on the reimbursement?
So we had hoped for 33%, and it looks like it's going to come in closer to 29.2. So about $80,000 shortfall.
So along those lines, when you hear about advocacy and you hear the phrase some certain versus some sufficient, the state planned for 33% at a some certain approach, which means the state's contribution was certain. And so if the needs are greater, then the amount of reimbursement is less. If it's some sufficient, then you would get 33% regardless of the cost. So if you hear, I just wanted to jump on that to say, if you hear those two terms, that's why 33% ends up 29%, because it's a some certain instead of a some sufficient.
Does anyone have any questions for Stacy or John? All right, then I'll take a motion.
Motion to accept the business affairs report as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Abstain.
All right, next we move on to new business. First, we have a facility projects update and a progress report.
So I'd like to welcome our team here from Epstein-Ewen. We're going to have three components to this report. First, Epstein-Ewen with Katie and McLean to give you a little brief of where that design is at right now and the phases we talked about coming back to the board as each phase was completed in the process. Second, then C.G. Schmidt will be able to give us an idea of what is the cost of where we're at and how has that progressed through time as the process has been developed through each of those first four stages of the construction process up to where we are now, leading up to the next action on the agenda, which will be the guaranteed maximum price, which is our contract amendment with our builder for what is our exposure on the project. The third piece of the presentation will be myself and John Stangler with the owner projects. We had 5 owner projects that were also part of this referendum proposal. And we'll give you a status report on where those are from a timing standpoint. Katie, it's all
All
yours.
right. Hi, everyone. Katie
Hi.
Lacourt with EUA. Good to see you all again. As John mentioned, we're going to give a little design update on where things stand. If you remember back in September, I think, of last year is when we last presented to you all, just after schematic design and update on where things stood. And the plan has really stayed very similar to where it was back in September. And it really is a reflection of the guiding principles that we established in the visioning of this project. And those were flexibility, accessibility, visibility, interdepartmental collaboration, increasing curiosity and increasing participation, and then engaging community industry partners. And how that translates to our design and our plan today is really a hub and spoke model. So I know that the plan is kind of hard to see, but in the middle of the addition is the innovation hub, and then off of that are the various other STEAM programs. The goal being that all of those programs feed into the Innovation Hub, and the Innovation Hub is both visible and accessible from the primary corridor, north-south corridor within the school, and then visible to the public. And so it really gets a lot of exposure, both internally and externally. And so that is how the plan was developed and designed, and you will see that as kind of a thread as you see some of the imagery. So first, let's look at the exterior. So all of the different programs that came into this building on the West Addition have different volumetric requirements, which as a result, we use to leverage to break up the long western facade that the addition creates. We also leverage this as an opportunity to integrate daylight into the center of the building. So you'll notice in this rendering, you're looking from the north looking southeast, and in the center is the main innovation hub, and it intentionally stands out, and you'll notice that there's some glazing on the north side that gets daylight into the center of the building. So really taking advantage of the volumetric changes in program to get daylighting into the middle of the building. And then we clad these different volumes in materials that are present throughout the campus. So brick, precast throughout, and using the colors and tones that are in the existing building. We're using them in a little bit more of a modern way, so you'll see a more monochromatic aesthetic versus kind of the varying layers, and that's kind of most akin to your most recent additions on whether that's the north face of the high school or Asa Clark. It kind of relates to that in terms of the aesthetic approach. We also integrated some unique features in terms of the exterior that really are representative of the program and function of the building itself. So we have these steel frames on the exterior of the windows that are welded steel frames that really represent the welding that's occurring within the manufacturing portion of the program. So this is another view looking from the south, looking northeast. So you'll see again the varying volumes of the different programmatic pieces, the material choices that reflect that brick over here is matching some of the brick over here. The color tones in the precast fitness area are relating to the precast gym on the eastern portion. So using kind of that material as the threaded language from old to new. And then walking through the space, as I mentioned, the primary goal of the whole project was to make the STEAM programs more visible and accessible, really increasing participation. And so in the design of the building, although we were dealing with some challenging existing conditions, we intentionally created this curved corridor that makes the terminus of the corridor as you're walking from north to south, the innovation hub. So right here where I'm pointing is a large glass garage door that will remain open most of the day that allows visibility and accessibility to that new innovation hub. So rather than being kind of tucked away and hidden as it is today, it is really front and center and on display. And then some of the material choices in leading you there are very akin to what you're seeing right above you, using some of the materials that have been used in the more recent editions, continuing that language from what we're doing in this edition to the new edition. Then walking into the Innovation Hub, this is that tall volume space that's really on front center display from the football field. So we have a large volume space that within it are several zones. As you enter from the that main terminus we just looked at, there's really a kind of 3D printer area that really showcases some of the high-tech areas of the Innovation Hub. And then as you walk further west in the space, we have a woodworking area that's immediately accessible off of the 3D art space. So 3D art can use it, really kind of emphasizing that interdisciplinary or interdepartmental collaboration. And then those who are in the Innovation Hub can also use that equipment. So really giving kind of exposure to multiple students doing multiple things at one time. And then there are also some various other zones, like this is a little classroom area outside of the woodworking space, so that it can function also as a usable space, and in addition to having students pass through for various programs. Walking into Project Lead the Way, which is also off of the Innovation Hub and off of the main corridor. We are looking from south to north. You'll notice on the right side lots of windows into the corridor. Again, the idea of putting all of these programs on display to inspire curiosity. So you can see the 3D printers there. There's several screens in this area to enable group work. Students can move these island tables up to a screen to work together in groups. It can also function in a traditional lecture format, but really encouraging that group work, project-based learning. Next, we're going to walk into the construction area. We have a tall volume space in the construction area, and one of the primary drivers for this space was to have a lot of large open space to enable students to build small structures and leave them in place and not have to take them down, or be able to immediately move them outside of the building. So you'll notice the large glass garage door immediately adjacent to that, so students can build things and move them out very easily. And then lastly, walking into the fitness center, we designed the space intentionally to really project school spirit. So lots of graphics and colors to represent the school spirit with that throughout. Also intentionally organizing the space so that cardio equipment faces out towards the football field, capturing those views for cardio activity and weights in the center. It also has direct access to the multi-purpose center, which is right to the east of this, to have that ability to flex between the fitness space and that multi-purpose, multi-use space. That covers the design. Are there any questions?
I have one.
Sure.
The Commons Classroom MacLab graphics,
Yes.
like, are those spaces being untouched?
No. So let me go back.
What spaces did you ask?
So, I don't know north, south, east, west, I'm sorry, the top of our
North, yeah.
diagram.
Yep. So right now, going from south to north, the existing 2D art and 3D art spaces right here are being transformed into the new graphics lab. So we didn't really touch on those in the presentation, but those are being renovated and converted. And then the current graphics lab is being converted into a classroom, and then it's larger than needed for a classroom. So then just outside of that will be a common space with a small conference room off of that.
Okay, and then the culinary and obviously culinary,
Yeah.
because it's
Yep.
not culinary right now, so that's gonna be,
Yep, so those three special ed classrooms are being converted into the new culinary space. And the driver for that was the current culinary space is too small for the demand. And this gives it a lot more visible presence and exposure in that primary north-south corridor. And so it's not indicated on here, but the current culinary is also being lightly renovated now into a life skills space. So those are other programs.
And the new
that
one will
Gail
be
touched.
much more commercial style kitchen versus the one we have now is more domestic.
The residential, yeah.
okay, thank
So
you.
that culinary area, can you just give me a point of reference
So
where
yeah,
it?
right off the cafeteria,
Okay.
that hallway that comes down.
Mhm.
So this is multiple classrooms. The walls will be opened up, there'll be glass, a lot of visibility.
Awesome.
So you'll have that looking, in essence, right out onto the cafeteria.
There'll be windows there too. right?
Yes.
So-
Yep.
Is the culinary, is that a precursor to creating chefs?
Yeah, so we have the Pro Start program, which is, leads into industry. So hospitality, tourism, culinary fields certainly be in there. They get certifications if they want to go work in the industry through that.
So it's high school?
Yes.
What would be the reason that we're not using WCTC, which has a huge program?
This feeds into
600
that.
yards from us? Go ahead.
Yeah, we do work with WCTC, and Anthony, feel free to jump in, but we'll have kids that go from this to more advanced programs. It feeds into the WCTC programs. So we do use that as well. Our students attend there.
Yeah, and that'll actually be a topic tonight, not specific to their culinary programming, but when kids take prerequisite classes or when there are classes not offered that are not equivalent to our courses here, they can take courses at WCTC. So there, if we wanted to say all of our culinary students, we're just gonna have them, send them to WCTC, there would be a cost associated with that. Whereas now, if they wanna take classes there, it can be covered, but they cannot be comparable to a course that we offer here.
You're building a whole facility for them to do it here.
We have a very strong existing culinary
Right.
program that needs a larger space, so that they can advance to more of a kind of commercial training than right now is more training for residential.
Right, well, that's what caught my attention, because that's what WCTC does. I think I've had some meals over there. What is the proportion of where's John? Of the budget for this project that goes to this piece?
Don't know offhand. We'd have to follow up.
Ballpark?
I couldn't tell you.
Thank you. Thank you.
As a parent to 3 graduates, they took the culinary classes as someone that wanted just to get basic culinary experience, not something where they would want to go to WCTC. So it's a good offering for a large number of students to have that facility in the school.
Okay.
Hi, good evening. I'm Michael
Hi.
Dietrich. I'm a project executive with CG Schmidt. Some know me from the last referendum here. I'll be presenting along with Jason Voges. He's the senior project manager on this project. For the construction agenda, we just wanted to briefly touch on the budget, the history of the budget, which was quite remarkable, I think, that through the last year that we've been working on that. Touch on the guaranteed maximum price real quick. Jason will talk about the phasing diagram and how we phase things and why it kind of makes sense. And then Jason will also talk about the construction schedule and what you can expect to see in the next couple months moving forward. Oop. All right, so pre-referendum, we started with a conceptual design that kind of keyed into the $28.5 million, and that was construction cost, the capital improvement projects, and some owner soft costs. Since that referendum passed, the core team meeting, which consisted of a number of members of the Pewaukee School District, Epstein Hewitt, and C.G. Schmidt, we've been meeting to bring this project to reality. During the schematic design, I call this like the big thinking phase, like think big. So it incorporated all the needs and the wants, and obviously going through that process, we kind of knew we would be over budget. So after the schematic design phase, we were about $2.3 million over that total budget. So we had some work to do. The second phase, the design involved as we moved on, estimates became more precise. We did refine the overall addition. We locked into a square footage for the addition as well as the renovations inside the building. And then we included, bid packages. We brought on the precaster early so that we could lock them in and get precast early this spring so that we could, really push the construction and get the building up much quicker than initially planned. We also had bid out the site work last, late summer, so that we could get that teacher lot back in the back area, as to alleviate some of the parking for the students over at the concession area. So through that process, we were knocked off about $1 million. So we're getting there, but we still had work to do. So the time frame between the design development and the construction documents that came out in December, we went through this cost control analysis. That's where we really carefully adjusted material use and aesthetics. So some of the windows that Katie was talking about, we minimized some of those and changed some materials around. And through that process, we were able to save some dollars. We did also establish some alternates for some of that remodel space. So some of the existing culinary, that was an alternate. The graphics was an alternate. Some of the other spaces were some alternates, and that was just to ensure that when we did go out to bid, that the numbers that came in, we were at that budget or below. So, that entire process, the core team worked diligently to provide a design that met the needs of the district, and with everything that we did was enhancing that student experience. Guaranteed maximum price. The construction documents came out in December. We went out to the contracting community. We went out for bid, got those bids back in January, started evaluating those. We looked at all the bids. We had great bid coverage, 4 to 5 in most categories, 7 or 8 in some. So they really came out and supported this project. And why not? Great community, great district, and really great design. So we started looking at that, kind of comparing apples to apples, bringing contractors on board, and through that process, we settled in on a guaranteed maximum price of roughly $18.67 million. And what that means is that the GMP construction costs will not exceed that, and any and all savings, similar to that last referendum we did, goes directly back to the district. The best news is that through this process and all of those bids that we've got, we ended up being about $1.2 million underneath that existing construction, that original construction budget. So again, that was just the community coming out, the contractors coming out and really giving us really good pricing. So we're really excited for the next phase of construction.
Where's my little?
Yeah. Oh, you're pointing?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know that one.
All right, we'll go. Where's the little pointer at?
No. Is the pointer not working?
Up here. Oh, it's top one. Oh. Okay. All right. Diving into the phasing diagram and so forth, we put a lot of work into this. a lot of collaboration between some of your team members and all of our team members as well. With this scope of project being so widespread throughout the school, we want to make sure that we didn't impact the students any more than we had to. Kids are hard enough to teach. Disruptions, construction, my eyes were out the window all the time. So I get it. Going through here with our processes, our phase one down here in the bottom corner, we looked at this as an opportunity to get started, that we can go about it unseen for the most part. It's not going to impact any students right now, so we thought that was a great place to start. Thankfully, Mother Nature's been on our side so far this year. The frost is gone, so we actually started the construction out there now. From there, we chose to go up into phase two, which is large steam area. Reason that we've got that is phase two, we've got the demo on that, the mass demo, taking place over spring break. That way we're not shaking the building, causing disruptions and so forth, and it gets us to tie that out in time as well. In the summer, we're going to be concentrating on the culinary space. Once culinary is started there, we've got phase four then, after that, that's over here. That'll take place after that. After the existing culinary moves into the new culinary, it opens this space up so that way we can start in there to go with the life skills and also the teacher lounge. Up here on phase five, we've obviously, with the art, the 3D art, 2D art, and everything else, it's got to move into phase two here. We've got to get phase two done before that can slide. Once that slides down into the new building, we'll be able to get into this space and kick that off. Phase six, the people that are in there right now with graphics, those guys are going to slide down into the area of area 5. So we've kind of got to take things, one step at a time, so we're not kicking the students out of the school completely while we're doing our work. Right now, schedule-wise, we're looking at phase one, which is the new multi-purpose and fitness room with locker rooms as well. Looking to have that completed by the end of August to turn over for the 2025-2026 school year. While we're working on that phase, we are going to be in phase two here, where the existing fitness room is. That'll be moving into the auxiliary gym. We're taking half that gym to slide all that fitness equipment into there to make sure the kids still have a place to work out, because everybody knows with sports nowadays, you've got to go 100% year-round, otherwise you're not going to make it. We're planning on turning that area, that phase two area over by the end of the year, sometime around Christmas, which will allow us then to jump into the other areas going forward here. In summer of 25 is when we're looking at jumping into the culinary area. And then when that's done, we're planning on having that turned over by the end of summer as well, so that they're able to start utilizing that space. Once we get them in there, we can take over into phase four with the new life skills area along with teacher's lounge. And phases 5 and 6 on the top of the sheet, those areas there, we're looking at taking those as far as starting demo pretty much right at the end of 2025 and then moving into 2026. We're planning on having both of those spaces there cleaned up and turned over. Right now, our end date on having everything completed is April 1st. It's not because it's April Fool's Day. What you'll be seeing right now going forward is we've got construction taking place out there right now. They've started excavations out on the south end of the building. You'll see that continue with concrete trucks pulling in. They'll be starting to pour footings, foundations. They'll see cranes coming in, starting to set precast. They'll be setting steel bar joist, moving into enclosure with windows, doors, and so forth being put onto the building as well. So in the next 3 months here, you're going to see a lot of stuff change. Any questions or comments?
And you're the on-site person for the project, right?
Yes. You don't have to look at Mike every day.
Come on.
All right.
Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just to look ahead as we start, I'll finish this slide with him. Looking ahead at what those areas are going to be in some of the phases, some of the individual items, you have them in your presentation right now, as far as what will be happening and when it'll be happening. So as part of the project, I mean, first of all, before we leave the construction phasing in that, our high school staff has been incredible through this entire process. Our tech ed staff, Nelson Brunel, Ben Lamp, Ignacio, the flexibility that they've had in vacating those spaces to allow us to be able to get in there and get this project done in a time frame that meets the new school year has been incredible. Very extremely flexible with a difficult job on top of it. So I compliment everybody who's been involved from the high school side on that. The other component of this project was a district project, the owner projects. These are the ones that we're facilitating as a district. There were 5 projects total. I put 4 up here because we lumped the PLE and Horizon Roofing. As we approached this initially, we were anticipating doing the roofing projects one each summer, but we were able to really get some economies of scale and some great efficiency on the pricing on this by getting everything done, and flexibility will be the key word this summer as we work through the buildings, and John will go through the sequencing a little bit with you and how we coordinate that with 1,700 students in summer school at the same time up on the campus here. So that plan is, that project is about $2.6 million was our original budget for the roofing on both of these buildings. The HVAC improvements in the high school here started with the air handling units. We're currently reviewing some scope. When we go into these projects, we anticipate things that are on the long-range capital projects plan and where we'll have the opportunity to greatly reduce the cost of doing projects on there as part of the scope of this work. With where the budget came in for, or where the bids came in for the HVAC work, within the scope of what we've set aside here, we have 2 rooftop units that are due for replacement that we may be able to also incorporate into this within that same price tag. That need to be replaced. Horizon flooring, we had reserved about $660,000 we anticipated for the cost of the flooring upgrades in that building, and then the solar, we had about $600,000 we'd anticipated initially in the project. When is it going to happen? Like I mentioned, the PLE and Horizon roofing will be completed in the summer of 2025. Along with the HVAC improvements. That's all been contracted already. That stuff's ready to go. The major equipment components are already ordered on those elements. The Horizon flooring and the solar installation, we're working on that right now, working with the engineers or working with the design on those projects to get us prepared ahead of time for summer of 2026. So if we can procure some of the materials for that flooring ahead of time so we're not paying price increases as they come along for 26 or beyond, we're going to do that ahead of time. But summer-wise, there's only so much we can get done around summer school, and that flooring will have to wait till 26. We'll reduce that cost wherever we can from a materials side. If you, I'll let John take over on the sequencing.
All right. You have another. Okay, so from, you have the, I'll talk about the roofing when we get to the roofing sequencing. But for the HVAC, so just to kind of get into a little bit more detail, so the yellow and the green areas, those are air units 1 and 2. So a bulk of the majority of the original high school from 1968, those are 2 old dual duct, hot duct, cold duct units that we're looking at upgrading and replacing. But you can see how much of the area and how much of the high school it affects. And just trying to be flexible too, so here's the second floor as well. So it's the first floor and second floor for those entire areas. The strategy is to still operate some summer school inside the high school where we can, around these spaces. With these 2 spaces, you know, again, on the first floor, it's advantageous for us to be doing a culinary and a couple of other spaces at the same time while we're upgrading the HVAC, just because it's not going to affect any other staff or students. But it'll be fun to schedule summer school. The gym, auditoriums, all those are still going to be used while this HVAC work is happening. I know we have graduation is a little earlier for the ceremony inside the building, but come June 7th, Saturday, June 7th, we're going to be already starting with some of the demo and some of the work for the HVAC, and then going full go that week of June 9th when school lets out. So we'll be hammering on that all summer long and getting that ready for the start of school. Yep, go ahead, Larry.
Where are physically the AHU 1 and AHU 2?
Air handler 1 is right here down below the dock.
Okay.
On the
Like
right,
out
yep,
the
right
back
down
door.
below you, actually right outside, down below in the down below the dock area there. So that's where one is. 2 is actually, you can see it on the left-hand side, right outside 110. So if you went down, there's kind of like a ship ladder that goes down into the basement. That's where hand unit 2 is. So it's going to be interesting because there's right around here, sorry, trying to point out with the red dot on this screen. C.G. Schmidt's going to be knocking a hole in the wall, just so it's a little easier to demo and then also to be able to install the new unit down in the basement. So it was interesting how they got it down there, I'm sure, and because these are some large dual duct units that you'll see, and we'll have pictures for you to show as we.
Is that the
rip it
only
out.
space in the high school that's a basement under it, or basement?
Yes, that would be the only spot.
Take us on a board tour down there someday, right?
Sure, gladly. Yeah, watch your head, and then the second is, it's not that exciting. It's an HVAC unit, so.
Well, other than it's one of those locations though where the accessibility and availability to get in and out of there, I mean, it's like who or why they ever built it or put it in that location. I mean, it's almost impossible to get to. Like
Yeah.
I said, you're gonna have to tear down walls
Agree.
to get in there and take out the old and put in the new, right?
Agree. So, but that concludes the area units 1 and 2. And then as we get towards the roofing replacements, so at Horizon, just to orientate yourself, main office is right here on the north side, or on the top side there. You can see just to the right of the gym, so that's where the main entrance is there, or just to the right of the cafeteria. So this is entire 2001 edition, about 53,000 square feet of roofing. This particular roof, they're going to be starting on July 21st, but they'll actually be vacuuming a bunch of the stone off the week of 4th of July when we don't have school going on, because it is pretty noisy and loud when they're vacuuming all the stone off the roof, because it's currently a ballasted system, and it's going to be switching over to a full rubber EDPM roof when all is said and done. So that one will be 4th of July week, and then right after summer school concludes, the following Monday, they're going to be really working on Horizon's roof, as we're going to be sliding a little bit more summer school into Horizon in order to make sure we can have enough class offerings and make it work. And then for PLE, you can see everything on the east side, so on the right-hand side, the 2 roofs in the top left, those are above the district office. We are actually able to extend the life cycle of those another 3 years. So 3 years, we're going to be coming back to replace those roofs that are currently over at district office. But for this particular summer, everything on the right-hand side, which is near the LGI of 400, you can see on the bottom left, and then wrapped all the way around the building through the gymnasium and through the one cafeteria. So that entire area, all those roofs are going to be replaced this summer. They'll be vacuuming the stone the week of June 9th, and then it'll be a majority of the summer just because it's 73,000 square feet. And then say there's some, rooftop units that we have to work on a curb right above the dock area there too, in order to make it work. But again, that's going from a ballasted roof to a full rubber EDPM as well, at Pewaukee Lake Elementary. Any questions regarding the roofing?
How old are those roofs on that building?
No, those are 1996. So
Long
we're coming right up on that, and typically ballasted roofs you get 20 to 25 maybe, and we're at 28. So we've been able to extend a lot of those roof life cycles just by, proper preventive maintenance and taking care of them. But we're getting right up on that life cycle. We occasionally are getting some of those leaks here and there. We haven't had many leaks lately, so trying to keep it that way, but replace it before it becomes a major issue. And then just to touch base on the Horizon flooring and the solar, so we're working on that already. And again, like John was saying, a lot of these we're trying to get ahead of the bidding cycle so we can kind of dictate our timeline and what contractors can do to meet our timelines. Because that was the best part about bidding out those roofs early, like late October, early November, so we kind of got ahead of everyone else in the bidding cycle, and we could dictate those dates we want the work to be completed, while at the same point, the procurement of materials is continuing to be a challenge in the market too. And I'm sure our architects and CG can attend to that too, where some of the procurement of materials can be challenging at times. So we just try to get ahead of that, and again, try to get good pricing too. So you'll see the solar and the horizon flooring be hitting the street here pretty soon, within the next few months.
Question for John, relative to, you said by combining the roofs at both schools, do you have an estimate, how much did we save with that? Or potentially?
Going into the project with the scope that we defined in it, we anticipate that roofing project is going to be $600,000 to $700,000 under the original projected cost. So, and if you've been adding the numbers up as we've been going, you're saying it's coming a little bit short. It's not 28.5 million. The other part of this project, the other component, is the owner soft cost. That's our cost for the architects. It's our cost for furniture, fixtures, equipment, all of the make it live cost, like the servers, the routers, all of that other technology equipment that's in there, the finishes in the classrooms, TVs, if they're gonna have a monitor in there, all of those components, communication devices. Any questions?
I have one, actually, probably more for Anthony. For students that are in the trades or project management, are they going to have opportunities to engage?
They will, and as we get going, we'll
Okay.
have discussions on that. The last referendum, there were opportunities that students participated in, so that'll be something that Mike and we can connect on and make sure that those opportunities exist. Because the nice thing is that we're gonna have less space, so finding some of those opportunities for our kids might be very beneficial.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, CG Schmidt did a great job the last time around with that. All the way down to the younger kids too.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
I have to say, when we started the process a couple of years ago in identifying who were the right partners to bring to the table, we really scrutinized the architects and the construction managers, and the team that we've been able to put together to bring the project to this point where it's at right now has been exceptional. The work together, the openness to looking at different criteria, and the ability to take it from a thought and an idea to we're locking in a price of what that construction is not going to exceed. It's been monumental, especially the last 4 or 5 months, and they've been incredibly good to work with.
So, Matt, partially to answer your question, and maybe you could jump into, we had like Ask the Builder, and then I know a couple times you had like surveying students come out, or the students that were in surveying class when you're doing some of that kind of work too, but.
Yeah, the Ask the Builder was for some of the younger kids. We set up a mailbox inside, and the kids could ask questions to the construction workers, and we'd answer them and sometimes do a video and tell them, how things are made, like what is concrete made out of, and, so some of those things we would answer those questions. And then surveying, we did have one of our surveyors come out and teach a class or show them how to survey in real life and go through that stuff, and those are all opportunities that are open as well.
Plus you have 2 kids? You have 2 kids in the district or 3?
I have 2 kids in the district.
And what grades are they in, by the way?
One's in 8th grade and 6th grade right now.
Awesome.
So they get to see the new high school.
That was a real interesting part of the last project when we did it, because if you remember, we did all the exterior work on the parking lot, so every window in the district had visibility of large earth movers and digging equipment that every kid wanted to go play on. It was, focus was a challenge for a little bit there.
No, John, you should just say you have the interest in playing on it.
Yeah, they're just gonna hide the keys to the heavy equipment when John starts walking that way.
Okay. All right, thank you. Are there any other questions? Otherwise, the intent here was just to give you that continuing progress update as we get going here again. We'll anticipate probably July or August at some point coming back with another progress update. And where are we at on schedule? What does the next 30, 60 days look like? And give you the updates as we keep going through the project.
You will see some things go up pretty quickly here in the next couple of months because of the precast. So kind of swing towards that side of the high school. In the next couple of months, you'll see some things changing.
Actually, that's an interesting question. Without knowing exactly where the physical or the fitness center will be, but for like whatever homecoming football game, would it be done before then, John? So
we'll be in it in the summer.
what's that?
Yeah, they'll be in before school
They'll be
starts.
in. do a little mini open house or something, you know, so have the Watt brothers come out, so.
All right, next, we want to talk about that guaranteed maximum price, John.
So when we issued the contract back in August of '23 with CG Schmidt, we informed you at that point in time, the contract cycle goes from preliminary work, regular construction development, and then we get to the GMP. This is an amendment to the contract which sets that guaranteed maximum price. Within here, we have contingencies and potential expenditures that we'll look at within that number. Ultimately, through the construction process, when we close out the project in April of 2026, any funds that are left of that guaranteed maximum price revert back to the district. We hold the funds the whole time. We no longer are obligated to the construction manager after that closeout process, and any funds that are left, we just keep from the project. So you have the GMP amendment in your package with the recommended motion, 18.665 million for those projects. Any questions?
That money that we have set aside, John, for, like you say, machinery, equipment, internet, whatever, do we feel that based on current cost trends that we have enough finances set aside to cover all of that?
Yeah, we've been monitoring that pretty close. Some of the equipment is coming a little bit higher that we're looking at. Some of it is coming in lower. We also, within that soft cost element of the project, have owner's contingency funds that we can apply to things that, as costs fluctuate. Our team, again, the staff in the high school in these specific areas, did an incredible job of itemizing those equipment needs and anticipating the cost of those throughout the entire development of this project. So I feel like we've got a pretty comfortable handle on what those costs are going to be and what it's going to take to buy what we need to make it a success.
Any other questions?
So when you say that we keep the funds, if there's anything left over, where do those funds go? Like, what do we do? Is it, we can only use it for certain?
Yes. So you have, from the date of issue, you have 36 months to utilize the funds. So we issued our first bond issue of $9 million. That's a SEC rule. So we have 3 years from the date of issue from last August to spend that first $9 million. That will be burned up through construction, probably in May sometime. As we then get into the second debt service that we'll be issuing in April at our next meeting, those funds, that starts the clock ticking at that closing date, May 7th, I believe we're targeting, for a 3-year window. All of these funds are restricted to only use for projects that are specifically identified in that referendum question. So you'll be able to tie every expense back to the referendum question and the scope of what was there. It includes items that are on the long-range capital projects plan as other potential investments that we can make with that. Our plan is to come back to the board in May and say, here's the things that are in the next 3 years that are on that long-range capital plan that we're going to have to take care of. Can we do some of them now if it looks like the project's going to come in under the cost of what we have? At that 3-year period, you close the project out, much like the last one where we did. We had just under $700,000 left in the construction funds when we closed the project out finally, prior to the 3-year window. That was reverted back to the debt service fund to pay the bonds that were issued to pay for the cost of the project.
I have another question. So just curious, do we have any local corporations, immediately I think of Milwaukee Tool, that have reached out to say we're willing to donate maybe small hand tools or give us special pricing on equipment that we would purchase through them?
just in the contracting alone through this first phase of determining the construction cost, we've had some local companies really step up to the plate and say, we want this because it's in our community. And that's translated into some of the costs that we've seen on the contracts for these projects. That's been a real incredible partnership with those companies. We also are looking at well over $100,000 of grant funds that have been submitted for already. That will also offset some of the cost that will go into the project. And the partnerships, like one of the pieces of equipment we got this past year was a partnership with a local business that they donated the $9,000 piece of equipment. And we installed it. That will also be utilized in the new facility, that piece of equipment. Our teachers are well connected with the industry and what they need. We've done the business forums to say, what do our graduates need to be successful if they come to work for you? And the business community is stepping back into it and saying, here's how we're going to help support you developing those things. Our teachers are well connected and they're doing a great job, our tech ed staff.
That's great. Thank you. Any other questions?
All right, I move to approve amendment number 1 to the AIA 133 agreement between C.G. Schmidt, Inc. and the Pewaukee School District to establish the guaranteed maximum price of $18,665,354 for the 2024 Facility Master Plan projects.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Oppose.
All right. Thank you, John. And thank you to all of you for your great presentation. I'm so excited to see this thing happen. Wow. Next, we have early college credit, Start
Thank you.
College Now applications. Anthony.
Yeah, so our last meeting, we had the same topic on the agenda, but that was for summer early college credit courses. This would be for next fall for students applying for early college credit, and that's through the UW system, and Start College Now is through the technical college system. So the one difference here is the dual enrollment academies at WCTC. We have 18 students interested in that, and that's a full year commitment for them. So that approval that's fall and spring. So looking for approval, and the differentiator on these would be our only reason for denial would be if we offer a comparable course here at the high school. So I did share the list with you, and the one thing I do want to point out is the maximum cost for fall in the board memo was identified as $735.06. That there is a revised amount. It's $45,194 because I was waiting to hear back on one specific course that, in my review of that, I deemed it to be comparable to something that we had here in the high school. So I did not approve those courses for those 3 students. So looking for a motion for approval.
I move to approve the Start College Now applications for 19 students, early college credit applications for 4 students, and the dual enrollment for 18 students in semester 1 of the 2025-26 school year as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Abstain. Anthony, could you give me a status as to the college level examination program in the school?
Can you clarify what you mean by college level examination program?
CLEP.
The CLEP?
CLEP testing, yes.
So are you talking about college tests that our students take?
So when you go to school, you take the test.
Oh, I
as
don't
a
know
freshman,
I don't know the exact numbers. I can try and get that for you. I could follow up via email if that's something you're interested in.
Well, what do you know about the program?
About students taking a test to get college credit?
Right, not AP.
I do not know a ton about that program.
So I would take it that students here would not know about that program either.
I would have to talk to the high school administration to see. I'm not 100% familiar with that program, if that's what you're asking.
Yes, that was what my question was. Thank you.
Yep.
What was the name of the program, Mary?
CLEP.
CLEP.
What?
C-L-E-P.
C-L-E-P.
CLEP. Okay, not clap. Okay, CLEP.
Okay. All right. Next, we are going to speak to the Waukesha County Special Education Consortium Agreement for the 25-26 school year. I'm going to ask Tony to come up.
Hello, Tony.
Good evening, everybody. So, the Waukesha Special Education Cooperative has been around since 1989-90 school year. And the reason that it's important is there's some low incident areas that we have to cover as a school district. Audiology, deaf and hard of hearing is the one area that we contract with the Waukesha County Consortium. And it's really important because you can't find staff to, we looked for other bids last year and there's just no availability of personnel that are certified in that area and specialize. So we've been very fortunate. The other huge piece of this program is the equipment loaning. So when I was investigating alternatives, oftentimes when little kids have hearing aids or audiology assistance, they end up changing devices and changing equipment quite regularly because they're growing, their ears are growing, and their needs are changing. And as a result of having all of these school districts part of the consortium, we get loaner equipment. We just pay for the staffing, but they have a whole library of loaner equipment, and the lady that coordinates everything in Elmbrook School District has a PhD in this, so just exceptional services. For next school year, we have 6 students that are going to be served for deaf and hard of hearing and 6 students in audiology, and that's pretty much the extent of the agreement. It would not make any sense for us to hire, we wouldn't be able to hire our own because of the statewide shortage, but parents have been happy, and I contacted each and every one of the parents last spring to inquire about how they feel about the service delivery from Elmbrook and this consortium. Does anyone have any questions for me in regards to this? Audiology would be, it's specializing in how kids are hearing, and it's coordinating the hearing aids.
You separated that from.
You got deaf and hard of hearing, and then you have the audiology, and that's how the hearing aids work, and they work with that.
Lesser, less severe, hearing loss?
You know, it's
Maybe 6 and 6.
Yeah, any student with hearing impairment is going to have an audiologist that works with them to assess how they can hear sounds and the background noise, how the hearing aid is working. They got some really cool things now where they have devices that mount up here and the kids can really navigate it well. We also have surround sound systems that the teachers mic'd up. So they work with the student, they work with the audiologist that is testing the ability to hear. But the fascinating thing about this is how the background noise in a classroom can impact a student to ascertain what's going on in the room. So having a specialist that can do testing to determine what devices would be best positioning in the room and the sound system is really exciting, and the technology has made it so that the kids don't feel singled out at all.
Any other questions? Otherwise, I'll take a motion.
I move to approve the Waukesha County Special Education Cooperative Services for deaf and hard of hearing and audiology contract for the 2025-26 school year.
Second.
All in favor?
I got a question, Bren.
Go ahead.
Why is this one coming to the board for approval?
It's a 660301 required.
Yeah, so these 660301 requirements are contracts that require board approval.
You haven't brought every contract that you've engaged.
Depends on what the contract is. I don't know, John.
660301 is a intergovernmental cooperative agreement, and that's where this falls underneath the statute, and it requires annual action to participate in that intergovernmental cooperative between public entities.
Got it. Thanks, John.
We had a second, correct? Yes. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
Thanks, Tony.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Next, I'm gonna go back to John, because we're gonna look at that resolution for transfer of funds and establishing that escrow account.
So part of the long-range financing plan when it comes to managing the debt in the district is to minimize the impact of any of our debt that it has on the property taxes and on the debt service levy for the district. One of the tools, the primary tools we have to do that is the use of defeasances. Essentially, we use an escrow agent, we pay the funds to the escrow agent, they make the payments when they're due. That way we account for the transfer of the funds when it leaves us in that fiscal year instead of the future one. We've done 4 or 5 defeasances in the last 6 years or so to be able to manage our debt and to decrease the overall cost. This defeasance here is proposed for a total of $1,047,000. It's is mostly funded through the levy stabilization levy that we have. When you adopted in October, we had identified a dollar amount in there and some of the accrued interest earnings that we've had on that throughout this time period. This defeasance will take debt off of March of 2026 that will allow us to fold in the new debt for the remaining construction project earlier in the sequence, and therefore reducing the overall interest costs pretty substantially of what it's going to be when you act in April. Acting on this now pays off debt from spring of 26 to have it substituted with the new debt and reduces the tax impact.
Does anybody have any questions on that?
All right, I move to approve the resolution authorizing the transfer of funds, the establishment of an escrow account with respect to the defeasance of certain of the general obligation refunding bonds, Series 2019A, dated March 20th of 2019.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Abstain.
All right, moving on to personnel issues. We do have one resignation.
I have one resignation, limited term, a music and art teacher at Pewaukee Lake Elementary. So I'd seek your approval. Dawn
To
Hernandez.
approve the resignation of Dawn Fernandez, limited term music and arts teacher at PLE.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Abstain.
There are no retirements, no employments, but we do have a leave of absence.
Yep, we have
request.
Maggie Goska, who is a special education teacher at Horizon, is requesting a year's leave of absence next year with a new child. And the recommendation of the administration is to approve her request. As she states in her letter, she fully intends to return for the 26-27 school year.
I move to approve the leave of absence request of Margaret, Gaska?
Yes.
Gaska, special education teacher at Horizon Elementary School.
Second.
All in favor?
I have a question, Bryn. If you-
Go ahead.
Do we approve all leave of absences?
Leaves for contracted staff, yes, the board would approve those leaves.
Because
It's a requirement that the board approve those.
who requires it?
I believe it's a legal requirement.
From where?
State statute, I think.
Yeah, I would have to I would have to, if you would like me to find that information for you, I can get it to you.
Is this the same body of law that requires that we approve resignations and retirements?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. All right, board goals and operations.
I don't, hold on, did we vote on that one?
No, we,
Oh, we
have a
did.
You have
motion and a
a
second.
motion. you said.
Sorry.
That's okay.
All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Board goals and operations. Upcoming activities. Tomorrow is Reality Store, a really, really great activity. Unfortunately, I can't be involved this year, but thank you to Stacy and Matt for volunteering to be a part of that.
And Mark,
And Mark.
yeah, you might owe Mark a drink later.
Okay, sounds great. I will do that. Tuesday, April 1st is our spring election. And then April 3rd, we do the Board of Canvassers. Is anyone besides Stacy attending that?
Need one more, don't we?
I think we need one more. If
Somebody
if
else
I'm
do it.
on the ballot,
I don't
You
think you
cannot
can
do it, yeah.
okay.
It doesn't take that long. It's on a
It's
Thursday
maybe a
afternoon.
half an hour at most.
Yeah.
You can get 2 other citizens too. You've got one other one.
Well, we've got Marika, right?
Marika's coming, yes.
Okay.
I could come too. It's April 3rd, Thursday.
The
Yeah.
Thursday at
Yeah,
1.
I can come.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you, Matt. Really appreciate that. Monday, April 8th,
Tuesday?
or, yes.
Okay.
April 8th, we are going to be doing the interviews for the student board representatives. And Larry, Ashley, Stacy, and myself are taking part.
Anna's gonna be there, right?
Yeah, I can
Oh,
make it.
yes.
Gotta help, bring in your next partner in crime here.
Yes, exactly. Thank
Want
you.
to give you a voice.
And then Monday, April 14th is a business affairs, followed by a board meeting, and that is the meeting where we will do the oath of office for the new board members. On the 22nd is the WASB new board member gathering, and I think, Larry, you were kind
Yeah,
of
it's here.
hosting.
Well, yeah, I think Dan Rossmiller is scheduled to come too, so I'll be one of the people.
Right. And of course, any board member is welcome to come. You just get, reiteration of board member duties. If you choose, just let Tammy know. Monday, April 28th is a policy committee meeting, followed by a board meeting, and that night, we will do election of board officers for 2025. And then Wednesday, April 30th at 7 p.m. is the Kiwanis Scholarship Night. It was formerly known as the Honors Banquet. Larry, Stacy, and myself are attending. I think if anyone still wanted to attend, you could still give your name to Tammy. So if anyone else still wants to attend, just let Tammy know. That's a neat event. And then the Asa Clark Middle School promotion is Friday, June 5th on the football field at 6 p.m.
I think that's I think it's the 6th. I think Friday's the 6th.
Oh,
Is
it
it-
is, yeah,
Yep.
Friday is the 6th.
Yep.
Okay. And do we know, Mike, when graduation, high school?
It is May 31st on Saturday. I think it's sad. Probably know this since I got a kid doing that. 1 o'clock
1 o'clock.
on Saturday, the 31st.
Fantastic.
I hope a lot of you can come to graduation. It represents everything that we do here.
Yeah. It's,
Well, the Kiwanis, Kiwanis Scholarship Award Night is also like a super good night to come because you get to see all of the students. They do a little bit of a brief bio on what they participated in, where they might be heading in terms of colleges or post-high school type stuff, and it's a great event as well. So.
it's impressive, yeah.
And then we didn't mention this one, the Open Door thing.
Right. So that's May 14th is the Open Door Awards at the Sharon Lynn Wilson Center. That's that new recognition program that was started this year that last I checked, we because we have to narrow down the nominations now, because the nominations have closed. We were 240 some nominations for awards, and that's everybody from teachers to bus drivers to classroom aides, nurses, office staff, community partners, you name it. And it'll all be, the awards will be presented by student presenters. So we actually have a meeting this week to go through the applications and start narrowing those things down. It's an Academy Award style recognition program, so done a pretty good job getting some money raised too to help offset costs, so we're excited about it.
Awesome. Mike, legislative.
Yes, there's lots going on right now as the biennium process starts. April 4th, we have a meeting at 1 o'clock with Representative Nalen. He'll be here. I'm going to do another follow-up. I had reached out once to Senator Hutton, but I had not heard back. So I will be reaching out to invite him on campus. He did graciously met with us in the fall. So earlier this year, but as we get into this biennium budget cycle, that's really important. SWSA has been very active with advocacy for this. So it's going to be a big deal, right? We need to have these opportunities to advocate for what our schools need. It'll be good to sit down, and it'll also be helpful to sit down with Adam to maybe get some insight as to where they think things are going to go with the legislature. Because as John is doing his budget work, we're just using a certain, relatively conservative assumptions as to what we might be receiving out of that budget. So that's what everything's focused on right now. Typically, you'll hear lots of advocacy, and that's certainly SWSA's position around increased funding for special education, but really about spendable dollars for school districts. So like in the last biennium budget, you would hear something like 1.1 or $1.2 billion provided to education, but a huge chunk of that was property tax relief. It was not spendable dollars, and a large portion of that went to private voucher. So those are things that we'll be talking to our legislators about.
The other thing, there's two things. So actually Wednesday of this week is the WASB Advocacy Day at the Capitol as well. So that's a good opportunity if you can spend some time in Madison, and there's our presentations in the morning with legislative leaders from both parties will be there. And then there's actually visits to the offices in the afternoon as well in terms of with that activity. But John and I participated not last week, the week before.
Last Thursday.
Last Thursday, I think it was.
When was it?
I think it was last Thursday.
Couldn't have been last week, though. It would have been the week before. But we were there, and it was an education session. And I think it was probably the first time that we had Wisconsin Association of School Boards, Wisconsin Association of School Business Officials, John was there, the School Administrators Alliance, a group called the SWSA, Southeastern Wisconsin School Alliance, and the Rural School Alliance. And I'm thinking I missed somebody else there, but all of those groups were there. We had maybe about 50 or 60 people, and some of those were actual representatives from the state assembly or state senate that were there, or staffers, learning about it. And it was a really good program in terms of the content that was being presented. Some of it, Matt, you may have seen or been aware of in terms of the Ann Chapman, Mike Berry kind of information that they present about where's the funding level in the state of Wisconsin. And one of the things that really hit home with me is, yes, I mean, they could talk about the fact that we have increased, quote unquote, the funding in the state of Wisconsin, but at the same time, I mean, our rankings in some of the performance indicators in terms of dollars being spent, student performance, all of those things, ranking relative to other states has gone down. And I think that's one of the things, and I kind of went into a little bit of an, just saying, it's like, I don't want to be in the lower half of all of the 50 states in the United States in terms of education. There's no reason why Wisconsin should not be one of the leaders in terms of the education and our performance in terms of schools and education, because we clearly need it here in the state, and it also helps benefit the entire country if we have higher performance levels, student achievement levels in the state of Wisconsin. So enjoying the school board to be an average school district or below average. So
Wednesday?
The WASB thing at the Capitol is Wednesday of this week.
Is that a legislative session for WASB alone?
Pardon?
It's a legislative day for just that group?
I don't know if there's other groups that are going to be there, but yeah, the WASB will have sessions at the Monona Terrace, and then they go to the state capitol for office visits as well. Morning is program content. I don't know if there was a sign-up deadline, but if there is a cost associated with it, we're signing up for it. I think it was $200.
So the broader umbrella, you're not aware of?
Which one?
A broader umbrella so that it's, so the dental profession has a legislative day, the medical profession has a legislative day, exactly as you describe it. But it's not.
I'm not understanding what you're saying, Mary. You're not very clear. I apologize. I'm not able to hear what you're saying.
The speaker thing, or what I'm saying content-wise?
I think, are you asking, Mary, is this day at the Capitol specifically set aside for school officials and to discuss education and funding?
Exactly. And then since Larry only mentioned the one, and you just went through a laundry list of several others, that would be, are the others also theirs? But that's exactly it, Bren. Thank you.
She was wondering if, you know,
The other
WASBO,
groups
any
that'll be
other
there.
groups are gonna be there.
Yes. I mean, I know for sure WASB, WASBO will be there, so it's a combined session for what the Wisconsin Association of School Boards, I believe, is kind of like the main organizer of the thing on Wednesday. So yeah, I mean, and they work very, very well together, and it's across the entire state. The Rural School Alliance has got a lot of members out there. SWSA covers Southeast Wisconsin. Other folks will be there as well, so.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, I didn't hear what you were saying, so yes, it's a day for that. There could be other groups in terms of there as well on that same day, because every organization in the state of Wisconsin typically tries to go in and advocate for their things on different laws and budgets and whatever else is out there. So.
There typically are other groups. I can send you the link if you'd like, Mary.
Thank you, yes.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Just to give you the quick nickel tour here. Join school board members and administrators from around the state to advocate for schools. Spend the morning discussing the latest updates of the 25-27 state budget and other legislation. Then we'll be ready to meet with legislators in the Capitol offices. The WASB will schedule afternoon meetings for you. Come prepared to discuss your district's top priorities. The event agenda starts at the Monona Terrace at 8 a.m. There's a legislative panel at 9:45. And then a networking lunch, and then in the afternoon, starting at 1, you start meeting with legislators. Yep, but I can send you that link too.
Okay.
And the cost involved is $200, $209.
Right. And Tammy can help you if you'd like to go. Mary Tammy can get you registered.
Awesome. All right, strategic planning process.
Yeah, this is real quick. So we have obviously a 3-year strategic plan and process. Last spring was the heavy lift because we were sunsetting a plan and creating a new one that included full community survey. It included multiple nights of community engagement. It included student focus groups, staff focus groups. So this is a lighter year. Typically what we would do is the one community night. I've spoken to a couple of you with a suggestion of changing things a little bit, as opposed to, that night we do the SWOT analysis, we have everybody in, we do our dots, right? We do presentations on the plan. That's been a good process. But my suggestion that I've spoken to a couple of you about is instead to maybe select 3 dates and make it a tighter 60 to 90 minute roundtable focus group format where we can just get some feedback, open up a sign up that would go out to families. We could certainly invite the people that are on our list that you've invited, as you've identified some people in the past. We could send them specific emails, but we could open it up more broadly to parents and staff and even students. And we talked about possibly having some specific topics we would like some input on, such as we're talking about what we want to do with cell phones as a policy next year. That could be something that we could target. So I wanted to see how that sounded and felt to this group, and if so, I would work on getting dates and a schedule and a sign-up set up.
I think it's great because for the last handful of years, we've had this list of people that we invite in, but I think if we also open that up and allow parents to sign up, we get additional voices in here, which I think is important to hear from other segments of the community. And also, I said to Mike, it might be good, if we're gonna talk about this cell phone topic, maybe do a separate night where we meet with students and do a forum with them, and a separate night with parents and constituents, so that especially the students can feel like they're open and honest when we discuss some of those topics.
That is a separate night event.
A separate night event, yeah, parents and students, separate. I don't know what you gals think about that, but sometimes maybe if parents aren't sitting there, maybe students feel more transparent.
Yeah, I think especially if you open it up to anyone, it would be very well received, just because it is such a big topic. I think you'll get a lot of participation. I'd be happy to come as well and discuss, but I know it's great to get different perspectives as well, so.
Yeah, definitely. I'd be interested in attending as well. But yeah, I think it's a really good idea to open it up to everybody and having those separate times for the parents and the kids, because you get to kind of compare the information that you've received.
And Natalie, I think you said that you have a principals advisory council where you're going to discuss that, and it's in 2 weeks or something? You said?
Yeah, so Anna and I are both on the principal advisory board level, which is where we meet bi-weekly with Mr. Sniff to talk about topics, issues. We just had a meeting last week, Monday. It was on our list to talk about. We did not really get into it. We had other more pressing topics, but it's been on our agenda to talk about, and it's gained a lot of interest, so it will be talked about, and I'd be happy to share, and Anna as well, about how that went. When that does happen, I'll make sure to talk to Mr. Sniff to make that a priority.
I think that's a really good idea, Natalie. I mean, if there's anything that you can bring, and obviously being part of that discussion as students, and both of you carry cell phones, right? So, I mean, it's important to have your voice and the voice of the other students on that principal advisory council there. So thank you for offering to potentially do that.
So what I'll do is I'll identify some dates and some times. I'll email the board to get some input to see if that works. And we'll try that approach this year, and then we can use a Google form or something to register people for those specific times. And the mindset is that it'll be much less presentation oriented. Like the last ones, you'd have people would rotate to different groups, they'd get a presentation, here's the plan. It would really be less about the goals in the current plan. It would just be more of a feedback forum in general, with some light presentation about kind of the main priorities of the current plan. But it would be mostly about, it's organized around a set of questions, just to give people an opportunity to talk and give feedback and raise any issues that they think are important.
Yeah, really a listening forum. Does anyone else have any questions or comments about that type of format?
I think it's a great time to try something new.
Okay, so I'll proceed with that as the approach, and I'll get something out to the board soon.
Okay.
We'll get some dates on the calendar.
Next week, we're gonna do a little follow-up discussion to our board retreat.
Right, so I had sent to you, following that, a summary of what we talked about. Just to kind of refresh memories here, I provided that agenda. We talked about data reporting, and there was feedback from the board about less large data dumps in terms of presentation, providing all the information, but getting much more tighter and focused when we do presentation with more analysis. And so that's going to be the marching orders of my team as they come forward with data to be much more specific, to provide things like executive summaries of data reports, and just get tighter on those presentations. We talked about open meetings laws requirements, and for me to organize a legal update, just to provide greater clarity regarding the ability to, what our fence posts are, related to discussions at open meetings and just kind of get a legal update on open meetings laws requirements. Clarity of purpose with items placed on the agenda. When establishing the agenda and preparing supporting materials, the administrative team should make it clear what the purpose is for an item being brought to the board and what is needed by the administration from the board, so some clarity on that with agenda setting. We then spent quite a bit of time talking about norms. We talked and reviewed about the 13 behaviors of high trust leaders and used that as kind of a framework. Talked about then roles of administration and roles of the board, which are summarized in that memorandum in terms of operations versus governance and oversight and those kinds of things. We talked about our no surprises norm of making sure that we're asking questions ahead of time as much as we can, that if something's bubbling up, that we work real hard to keep each other informed. We talked about the process, that kind of CAR acronym, confirm, acknowledge, and refer to the chain of command if you get concerns brought to you from the community, so that we can try to really be responsive as you're hearing concerns. We confirmed that the priorities of the board are articulated in policy, the strategic plan, and the board and superintendent goals, that those are, is to be viewed as the direction to the administrative team from the board as what are the priorities of the work are. And then we had some other things. Cell phone policy was brought up as well. So, and we talked about that tonight in policy. So I just wanted to kind of quick summarize what we talked about and then just open it up to this group for any more discussion if you'd like to have it.
I just want to say thank you to everyone that attended that retreat. I think every time we get an opportunity for all of us to get in a room and just be real with each other, just be transparent, I thought we had some really great discussion that night, so thank you. Thank you for attending. The policy committee, I don't know if you want to speak to that a little bit, Ashley, about, we spoke to the cell phone situation.
What was that, the technology? So, kind of where we're at with that is we're gonna separate the technology use and a cell phone, mobile devices into two separate policies, is kind of what we decided. Get to finish the conversation about the cell phone use, but we're gonna continue to have more conversation and dialogue about that.
Yeah, the acceptable use policy is kind of the big technology one. And we also talked about that needing some stuff probably more explicitly about AI. And then the direction was the personal communication device policy, which would address wearable mobile technologies, cell phones, those things. I had shared some drafts of that in the policy committee agenda, and that this would be coming back to the next committee.
Okay. Tammy, any citizen comments? Thank you, gals.
Yep, thank you. Have a good night.
Now, in accordance with state statute 19.851C, final notice of reduction in force layoff, we do need to go into closed session. And I believe that is a verbal vote.
It's a roll call vote.
Yes. So I'll start with Mary,
Yes.
Travis. Yes. Stacy.
Yes.
Larry.
Yes.
Ashley.
Yes.
Matt.
Yes.
All right.
And then we'll come back. Jordan, we will come back. This should be pretty short.
Okay, I can give Ashley the sheet, she can just read it off. You're live. So all you have to do is basically read this one right here.
Move to approve the issuance of a preliminary notice of reduction in force to one teacher.
Second.
Thanks, Travis.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, then if I can get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.